Hey everyone, it's Kristen. So this video is for Wednesday and Thursday. And for Wednesday, yesterday, we have the Mandarin, which I literally just talked about him too the other day because he had a stamp in the stamp series. So I'll put that link in the description if you want to know more about his background. And so this is a stat card, yay! But unfortunately, we don't have Iron Man stamp yet. The one that I have is most comparable, I would say, is War Machine. But of course, War Machine and Iron Man are different, even though they're similar. So for him, intelligence is 6, strength is 3, speed 7, durability 3, energy 6, skills 6. Wow. Okay, and so for, like I said, War Machine, because I don't have Iron Man's stat card yet, War Machine's intelligence is 5, strength is 7, speed 6, durability 6, energy 6, skills 7. So yeah, wow, I forgot, he's almost all the way maxed out in everything. That's pretty cool. So yeah, the Mandarin first appeared in Tales of Suspense number 50, and his source of power comes from his 10 rings. Like I said, I won't get into him because I went over him extensively the other day. So we'll try to make this video shorter than the last one for sure. Oh goodness. Okay, so I kind of vaguely remember this. This is Heimdall fighting Tannerus, I believe. Well, that's what he was calling himself. But it was really the rock troll guy, which I can't remember I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm just going to be honest. And he, used this charm to make himself into this and to basically replace Thor when he died. But he is really brash and blunt, and so his personality was way different than Thor's, who has just a sense of honor about him. So Heimdall and Sif pretty much knew right away that something was wrong. So when the real Thor was resurrected, he beat him pretty easily. So yeah, I remember that story because let's see. Okay, for the stamp today, like I said, we're moving right along in this one. Oh, the Submariner. Okay, so he's not my favorite. I don't I haven't read all of his stuff. I'm just gonna be honest because he's never been my favorite. It just he first appeared, of course, in his own series. I believe it was his own series. It was in 1940, and that was the same time as Captain America, the Human Torch, Bucky, Toro, and they fought in World War II against the Nazis and everything, especially after Pearl Harbor happened and the U.S. entered the war. Then, of course, the Submariner was brought in because he is a prince of Atlantis. And, kind of the same story as Aquaman. His mom was the queen and of royal blood, and his dad was, a sea captain, a human sea captain. And so he's definitely different than everybody else. And it was revealed also that he's a human Atlantean hybrid, plus he's a mutant. So, and he was hailed at one point when the X-Men were selling really well and they still had the rights to, everything. He was hailed as the first mutant. But really, he's not the first mutant or the oldest mutant, because there's Apocalypse, there's Selene, I know there's more than that, but anyway, I think anyway, I know there's more than just those two that are technically older than him and have been around longer. But, when mutants were popular, he was hailed as the first mutant in order to try to, sell more issues. But then when he was when the X-Men, when they didn't have the rights to X-Men and the movies were being made, that kind of distanced themselves from that and said, no, he's not a mutant. He's just like a hybrid, mutate sort of person. Anyway, so okay, so this was a very, very short-lived costume. I think it was only in like one or two issues or something. But it was around this time. Let's see. Actually, I'm pretty yeah. Submariner number 67, November 1973, art by John Romita Sr. This is yeah. I was about to say. I'm pretty sure this costume was around that time period that they did, chose the stamps for the stamp series. So yeah, not a very popular costume, and it says, let's see if I can read this. This day, for once and always, I declare war on the human race, war to the death. Namor, no, so speaks Triton, guest starring the Fantastic Four. And it says, wait till you... I can't exactly... Wait till you see Namor's dramatic new costume. That's what it says. Anyway, so that's where this is from. It's definitely dramatic and definitely different. And like I said, did not last very long. So I'll show you this one again so you can see it a little bit better without all the stuff behind it. Yeah, didn't last very long. So, like I said, didn't really follow him very much because obviously his attitude has always, annoyed me. His arrogance. Not really a fan of arrogant characters. That's kind of why I always lean more towards Captain America than Iron Man. Like when they split and they took sides, I was sided with Captain America just because. I mean, it's true. Iron Man's a little bit arrogant. That's just part of his character, how he's written. Nothing really wrong with his, him. It just, anyway, Namor is like that to like the 10th power or something. He's very arrogant. I've just never really been a huge fan of his. He's always waging war with the human race because I get it. He's the ruler of the seas and the humans aren't great about, thinking about other life, especially in the oceans. And at one point, Atlantis was destroyed by nuclear testing. I mean, granted, the Atlanteans had all evacuated, but it was destroyed. So he had another reason to be mad at the humans. And of course, he's the one that ultimately found Captain America frozen in ice, I believe. And then he, has been a member of the Avengers at times, but it's always pretty brief because he has no loyalty he doesn't really have loyalty to the surface world, and he doesn't play well with others, we'll say. Yeah. I think, yeah, Fantastic Four, Johnny found him, and he had no memory of who he was, and then he remembered, and he wanted to, wage war against the humans, and he has always kind of been obsessed with Sue, and she's always kind of found him attractive, like, in a way, because I guess because he's so, like, opposite of Reed. Reed is, like, so just stiff and serious and just, not emotional, very scientific, and here's Namor, like, super passionate, has this fiery temper, so pretty much opposites. So, there's always kind of been that little triangle between them, and Namor has been married twice. He married his cousin, who was actually not his cousin, was actually this other woman in disguise, pretending to be his cousin in order to, basically usurp the throne. And he also married Marina, who was a member of Alpha Flight, and she is like aquatic alien being. So they were married briefly too. And then he thought she was killed, but she was really just in a coma. So he's been married those two times that I can remember. Maybe more than that? I don't know. I don't think so. Anyway, um, yeah, and of course, there have been times when he has joined the X-Men, like Professor Xavier, reached out to him as he is a mutant, reached out to him, said, "Hey, join the X-Men," and of course he's like, "Huh, no, I'm not going to do that." Um, but he has, on occasion, battled with the X-Men, specifically against the Avengers in A versus X about the Phoenix Force and the fate of mutants, and he was actually one of the members of the Phoenix Five, the five people who the Phoenix chose to, you know, carry it. I don't know what you call it. I'm drawing a blank. Um. Anyway, so he's fought with the Avengers. He's fought against them. He's fought with the X-Men. He's fought against them. He's fought with the Defenders. He's fought against them. He was a member of the Illuminati. The people that were super smart people. Super smart, important people who were tasked with defending the world against threats. Uh, most of them, normal people didn't know about, and then he was too concerned with their morality, and that the fact that because this morality stopped them from actually getting, like, speaking of, oh yeah, Phoenix Force, yeah, I'm wearing my one of my Phoenix t-shirts. I actually didn't play in that, but it works. um so yeah, he was concerned about the morality of the cabal, of the Illuminati, so he formed his own, secret society kind of thing called the Cabal. And these people were not as, concerned about morality and doing things the right way. Let's see what else. Oh, he's, in addition to being at war with the surface dwellers, he's also at war with people, different races of people below the surface, under the water. Like, of course, Atuma and the chasm, whatever they're called. I'm drawing a blank. He's fought them, and at one point, Atuma was the ruler of Atlantis, and so it just crazy stuff like that. And Namor, wanted to use the Phoenix Force to actually take over. Oh, I'm sorry. Dazzler's on the back of the couch and she's just yawned and squeaked at the same time. So that was pretty cute. Um, I guess like the biggest, latest story that I remember, because it was kind of interesting. So Professor Xavier, apparently Namor had PTSD from, uh, from his time in the war, and Professor Xavier created this. I mean, sometimes like he messes with stuff he shouldn't. He created this other personality for him, so to speak. And this personality was based on one of his fallen comrades. And this personality was supposed to help him deal with his PTSD. But really, it just, you know, basically expanded the bipolarness that was already there. And apparently, this other personality, I forget what it named itself, he would take over Namor at times and plan things out without Namor kind of knowing, but Namor was ultimately okay with. And one of these things was he got this the serpent crown, and it pretty much can control anybody. And he got the serpent crown, and he had basically created this genome that would turn all the humans into, like, not Atlanteans per se, but a race of people that existed in the water. And he was gonna flood the earth, and therefore the humans would have no choice. If they wanted to live and survive, they'd have to be transformed into these other people. So that was his plan, that he was going to do this, which, you know, makes sense for someone who, you know, is mad at the human race and wants to destroy them and always at war with them and, you know, etc. But ultimately, and the personality actually went into another body and separated itself from Namor because he didn't think Namor could actually go through with this plan. And he felt like he needed to do what he needed to do. And ultimately, Namor didn't go through with the plan. And he wanted to just execute, you know, his other personality trapped in this body, that chose this other body. Like I said, the name just escapes me. I'm sorry. But Captain America said, no, he needs to stand basically trial, and everyone needs to see that you are not responsible for what happened because everyone thinks you are responsible. And so Namor agrees, and then, yeah, that's the last major story I remember him being involved in. Like I said, I don't follow him that closely just because I'm not a fan of his character. I mean, you know, I don't have to be a fan of every character. I just don't like how he's written, and he's like super arrogant and just not a fan of that. I mean, he's still, of course, he's a comic book character, so he's an interesting character. Like, there's very few characters that I would say, wow, they're super boring and I don't like them at all. But I'm not a huge fan of his because of his character, his arrogance. Like, I don't like, for example, Captain Marvel. They have made her like more super arrogant, and I'm not a fan of that. She's become like written as more arrogant, you know, in the later years, and I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of arrogance. Like I said, that's why Iron Man will never be my favorite, because he has that touch of arrogance to him. Which, it's not as bad as, like I said, it's not as bad as some characters for sure, but he will just never be my favorite. If it's between him and Captain America, I'm always going to choose Captain America. Anyway, so that's it for today's video. And so hopefully you will join me for the next video, and I am going to upload a Dazzler video. Like I said, I just been working so much lately because everyone's on vacation, or, you know, they're busy doing other stuff, you know, into the school year, whatever stuff. So yeah, just been working, you know, 6 days a week, a lot. So I'm behind. So I appreciate everyone that, you know, has continued to watch, and yeah, I appreciate it. And like I said, I love talking about this stuff with you guys because I don't have anyone else to talk to about it, really. So I enjoy these videos. I enjoy making them and talking about all these characters that I love. So until next time, bye.